Jag minns ju den tid du gav mig life billar yo. Nu vill jag kunna ge tillbaka allt jag inte kunna ge förut. Det finns ju ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för det baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. Och det jag lägger av min tid, jag vill ha det. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig. Aldrig.
Salute, peace.
What's up?
Hey, Chief Dominique, how y'all doing?
Yeah, man. Boa.
I'm doing good, man.
The shade, Chief, the shade.
Yeah, man. How y'all been, man? First of all, before we jump into this show, man, how y'all been over there?
I've been good, man. That's all I'm gonna say. I've been good, man.
Everything is good here, man. It's been hot. It's been almost 100 degrees every day.
Yeah.
The humidity is probably feels like we're in the motherland, man. But it's hot here, and it's going to be hot today.
Yeah, but you know what? Right now, y'all probably could use some of this rain. It's been raining. It's just to educate the public who don't know. This region, this West African region, only has two seasons. Then it has like a transition period. So you got a rain season that starts around May. It ends by October. It ends in September, sometime around October. And then you have a dry season where it gets real hot. So Africa is not really hot and steaming all year round like we've been led to believe by the Europeans. There's times in Africa where it cools down, where it rains for months, and the mosquitoes be out. It's times. So there's two seasons: the rain season, the dry season, and then in between the rain season going into the dry season, you have what you call the Hamatan. The Hamatan is a breeze that blows down from the Mediterranean Sea through the Sahara Desert, and it blows right off into the west coast of Africa. It's the reason why you get the hurricanes and the tornadoes from the West African coast the way they come. That same Hamatan season sends y'all the storms. So it's interesting.
Yeah, man. That's pretty interesting. I was just riding through the garden the other day. We could use some rain here because the Edisto is very low right now. I was peeping it the other day. We need some rain.
Yeah, man. So I guess we're gonna get right into the show, man. Other than that, we got a few brothers coming here from Orangeburg. They'll be here tonight. We're gonna kick it with them, man. We're gonna show them from town. But I'll keep you posted with that, Baba. You already know.
Yeah, cousin Philip. He's from Springfield. Hey, look,
we gotta make the connection.
His family is from Springfield, Dominique.
Oh yeah. You gotta fill me in on that too, man.
Yeah. He's one of us.
Man. Yeah, man. It's a family affair, man. Yo, look, it's a family affair. Me and Baba was just talking about the connections that we find with different relatives, all connecting back here, and even some new discoveries that point to the true identity of Caesar. So it's an amazing journey that we're on, and it's unfolding how much unity we really should have in the Burg. Yeah, the Burg should be like one big family environment for real. It should never be us down there leading the state in crime and murders and all that. The Burg should never be that place, and so it just shows you again that Orangeburg is the heart of the state. You might have the capital and might have the port, but the heart of the state is Orangeburg. Yeah, I'll continue to say that.
I agree.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I agree.
Yes, sir. So with no further ado, I'd like to bring Brother Abib out. We have Brother Abib Jalil with us again. He's coming to give us an update. As y'all know, Brother Dominique and Brother Abib are two of the three-man team known as Roots Renaissance. They've really been pioneering, a new way of not only researching, but putting the research to good uses. They've been making connections around the world. Brother Abib is a filmmaker. He's coming to tell you about his projects. and just update everybody out there what's going on. This is a brother who we love like we have the same mother, and there's nothing between us but love. All right, so I'm bringing Brother Abib in right now. Let's welcome him to the stage. Brother Abib, salute.
Salute. Peace,
Yeah,
peace,
man.
man.
Yeah,
Good,
man.
thanks. Happy to be here. How you
Welcome
brothers?
back to Gullah House, man. You know, this is your home, bro. Gullah House is your home, man. Anytime we can have you here, man, it's a blessing. You know.
Word.
So what's been going on with you, man?
Man, quite a bit actually. I've been really busy. Right now, working on a couple of projects. Me and my team Love, we're putting on an event, Love Fest in LA. It's gonna be a 2-day event this year, so that's gonna be in October. So really just kind of hitting the ground running on that. Putting together the second phase of my workshop. I teach a film workshop with Unpackaged Stories in West Africa. They're West African based, and with True Culture University, which they're more of a collegiate organization, and they have basically ties to all the HBCUs and a bunch of the universities in Africa, trying to basically unite the student bodies. So I've been mainly teaching the Ethiopian students on that side. So I'm working on the second phase of that program as well. So it's been crazy to say the least. For
That's
sure.
Dope.
Yeah,
That's dope, man. That's dope. You know,
great thing.
We gotta see how we can parlay your skills into the Gullah work and into Sierra Leone as well, man. Because a lot of what we've been discovering needs to be documented, and it needs to be documented by somebody who thinks like an African. You know, it can't be documented by an African who thinks like a non-African. You know, and you know, you got that Maroon heritage, man. You know, Jamaican mind. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So,
and you know, it's funny you say that.
To be behind the lenses.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny you say that, because one of the reasons I got so passionate about moving in this direction is because of my upbringing. Right. I think by this time everybody knows that I'm a Rasta, and I was brought up in the entertainment industry. So seeing that, I kind of already had a conditioning towards doing music or doing visuals, and that's how I kind of got started doing music videos. But eventually it got to the point where I was like, yo, I don't really see the kind of quality that I see on the side that I'm working on, which is at the time documentaries, music videos, that kind of thing, focused on people of African descent, focused on our history, focused on our culture. Like, and if somebody's doing it, it's usually not somebody from the culture. So that kind of bothered me a little bit, right? And I wanted to bridge that gap and really get us up to speed in terms of quality and aiming that specifically at our culture. Like really putting that quality there. And, connecting with Clarence, doing that documentary about him, and connecting with Dominique. And we just been planning because I want to really give this the kind of care it deserves. And when I listen to you guys and talking about Orangeburg and talking about Charleston, I'm fascinated. Like there's a whole story there to me that should be put on film. And that, that I want to encourage us, not saying I want to do it, but encourage all of us to want to show these stories and talk about them and give them that proper care and quality.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, man. So I think you kind of like parlayed it right into the purpose for your film workshop. Can you go into the film workshop, how people can get access to it, like just the dynamics of it? Because I think you did a good job of basically saying why you do what you do. But the filming workshop empowers ordinary people to be able to participate in the documentation of history, of exploring the arts. Like you said, you come from the entertainment community, and not all the time do people from the entertainment community bring their skills back into the movement of liberation. So, can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I mean, it's two sides to that. So, in terms of bringing resources to our people, the workshops that I teach are 100% free in terms of the focus on the African and the East African students, the West African and East African students. For them, we wanted to partner with organizations already doing work on the ground. So I partnered with a sister named Isata Richards. She has a nonprofit called Societies of Unity, and she does most of her work out of Liberia. She has an actual art space out there. And so I've been, on and off working with her for the past couple of years now. And so she wanted to do, because she's a filmmaker as well. She's from Brooklyn. Her father's from Senegal. Her mother is Liberian. So, she She put together this program. She wanted me to be a part of it, and I said absolutely, because it was gonna be free. It was gonna be for the people. There are gonna eventually be parts of it that are paid, because in Africa, if most of you know, people will pay for their education, and that's a thing. But we wanted to really bridge the gap and give it to them in a way. It's like, hey, just take it, so that way they get those skills and we can start producing content. Really, that's the idea. And so so same thing with True Culture University. Is headed up by a brother named Miles Henderson. He does a lot of work out of the UN and that kind of thing. He has the African Youth Forum that he's a part of, and he really focuses on connecting these student bodies, because in terms of revolutionary work, a lot of times it's in these universities and these colleges where these kids are being educated and their minds are being shaped. So I was blown away, especially as a Rastafarian. I've direct ties to Ethiopia, but seeing his organization and seeing how everybody is, 100% proud of being Ethiopian, but also being proud to be Pan African. You know what I mean? Like, even some of the projects that got finished on that side was talking about like Fred Hampton and this kind of thing, and these are Ethiopian students, right? So, I don't think sometimes people understand. If I put a camera in his hand, and he's talking about, this is an Ethiopian student who's very, very politically active and is talking about Fred Hampton. If I put a camera in his hand, that's the most revolutionary thing you could do. Yeah. So giving empowering them, for free is really what I wanted to focus on first. But I do a lot of pop-up, because I know you asked about how people can get access. I do a lot of pop-up workshops that are free and people can kind of hop in. But we're also in the process over at Love and putting together the paid version of the workshop with all the materials, with worksheets, the whole nine, where people can access for pay. And then there's also options to allow people to get access to the classroom for free as well. And we're going to announce those soon, but we definitely want to open this up to the greater people, so that way we can start, get more people to get their skills up. Because even if the people are business owners, or people who have, a lot of people have YouTubes, a lot of people have all these different things, having editing skills, being able to put together a project, being able to put, a film actually together. It's a great skill to have for anybody, really.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly right. That's a very futuristic skill too.
Absolutely. And for me, the other side of it is, my parents, right? My parents are Rasta, right? They straight from Jamaica, both of them, right? And so they've always been politically active. They've always, it's always been about repatriation and that kind of a thing. So that was my whole life. But at the same time, my father was also a reggae singer, a reggae producer. He had worked with multiple reggae acts. I mean, pretty much know everybody in reggae and dancehall, pretty much. And so I was around the entertainment industry. I grew up on music video sets, right? I was on Brand Nubian sets, and when we shot a video for Whirl Girl, which is one of the acts that my parents managed, on their video sets, and just being around the industry. So I got a really, really, really early introduction to the entertainment industry, and also Pan Africanism and revolutionary movements. That those two things never been separate from me. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you, what was your father's name?
So that's funny. So his I call him Junior. His real name is Piersley. The name that most people call him by is Gaddafi. So that's another thing. Him and his friends, they all had names of African leaders. Exactly. Right.
So, the reason I asked you that because I'm a generation above y'all. I came up in the 70s and 80s when I remember when Rastas first came to New York. I used to hang around them, and when you talk about Brand Nubian and all of that, man, that was my time. Late 70s. I was a young man back then, hanging out with a bunch of Rastas. I ain't gonna go too much into that, but
right, for sure, exactly. But that's what it was. It was a lot of. See, what people don't understand, and I'm not gonna get too deep either. But what people don't understand is that those Jamaicans that were coming in at the time to Brooklyn and Miami were coming out of a political struggle that was starting to spill over to Brooklyn and Miami, and so a lot of times when we look at their history, we look at it from the lens of drugs and violence and that kind of a thing. But really, people don't realize is that they don't connect that to Pan-Africanism because they don't know that it links.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Cuba was sending soldiers to fight apartheid in Africa. You know,
when I was coming up, it was around them. It was around those Rastas who first told me about Marcus Garvey and Pan-Africanism. They was about all of that. They may have been into other things, but they were the ones who first put me on to Marcus Garvey and Rasta culture. Long time ago.
Hey, Baba Kimo, you know, it's funny, man. It's funny that, you know, my mom, she spoke with an accent. And people should confuse her as a Jamaican all the time. And and the thing about it is that I always been friendly with Jamaicans. I always felt like there's my people, right? Really, anybody, any African, black as I am, once you black, you black. But, you know, but I had a special relationship with Jamaicans because people should confuse my mother for a Jamaican all the time, right? And like you said, man, just to see that culture, because, you know, it was in my community as well. It was something different. Like, we had the Puerto Ricans that was coming with the cha-cha-cha, you know, with the Mexicans and stuff. But then the Jamaicans was coming with a vibe like us. Like, they was coming from struggle. They was coming from ghettos. They wasn't just coming from la-la land. Like, and we could understand them because they was English speaking too. And it was different. It was a real different vibe. I'm from Pennsylvania, and there was clashes, like you said, in the streets. But in the broader community, there was unities. And when you talk about the music, you talk about the culture, you know, Baba Kimo was an OG when you talk about New York hip hop in the early years.
Absolutely.
He was there. He witnessed it all.
Not just hip hop, man. It was, I'm coming full circle now. You know, when I first came out the house, when I was like 15, 16 years old, I was introduced to reggae music and all of that. And now I'm in my 60s now. And I listen to more reggae more than ever, man. Most mornings, man. That's how I get down early in the mornings, man. I gotta have me some Burning Spear. I gotta have some old school reggae, U-Roy. I was raised on all of that, man.
Yeah, and that's something about Brooklyn I think people don't understand. You know, it's really a bubble in terms of like Pan-Africanism. Because even anytime we had events, anytime we was, you know, at a festival, the 5%ers was there, you know, ex-Blacks Panthers was there, the Nation of Islam was there, the Fruit of Islam was there, you know, to even know what the difference between the nation and the fruit is. You get what I'm saying? Like, so you had to be there. And it was just, and so I'm very biased. Whenever people start talking about division, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I've never seen it.
But you know, hey, you know what? To capitalize on what you're saying real quick, brother, you're absolutely right, man. In terms of reggae music providing the opportunity for African unity to happen. And and I always say that we wouldn't even be as conscious as we are of Marcus Garvey if it wasn't for the praise that is given to Marcus Garvey through reggae music. We wouldn't really see, you know, everyone else said he was a criminal, right? Said he failed at his mission, right? But the Rastas like, nah, he was a prophet. He foretold something. You know what I mean? He showed us the way. And so
it's deep because
just to see that, go ahead, brother.
I'm my biggest apologies. I just get passionate about like when people talk about this stuff because being a Rasta, it's like you're very political. You know the information. You're very astute. You're very sharp. But there's also a spiritual component that is a part of it, and that's a deeper, almost esoteric understanding that this isn't about failure or successes. Right? This is a struggle that is going to be lifelong. This is many generations going on. There's no such thing as failure in this. This is who's passing the baton. And Marcus was there for a reason. And if he had a message and if his words resonated, then it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It sparked the minds of people who have the ability to do something. You know what I mean? Like there's people who are among us who don't come from sufferation, who don't come from oppression. And those people have means, and those people can utilize those means to assist the struggle. And Marcus Garvey reached those people as well as the people that's in positions of being oppressed. All of us came together and worked together to move this thing forward, and that's what made him powerful.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. I like how you summed that up.
Yeah. So Don, man, you know, let's talk about Roots Renaissance, man. Let's talk about it at a deeper level. in terms of, you know, what's the ultimate vision? Because me, I stand in full support of thorough research into our family history, into our national histories, into our international history, and just history as a point of reference for study. But you know, we was talking earlier before we even got live about the role that you play in terms of, you know, being a young brother who has a gift at research. You have a gift to find what other people just don't see, and that's powerful. The fact that you even have the ability to recognize when you do it means that you've become somewhat of a master of doing it, and it's a powerful thing because it's not something you go to college for. It's not something. It's probably something that you gain from family. Maybe somebody in your family who influenced you was very observant like that. Or maybe the way you live, you know, you out in the boondocks chilling in the country. Maybe everything is a little more quiet for you, so you see more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that it's needed. It's needed. It's very much needed. Whatever it is very much needed. And so I see that Roots Renaissance is going to grow into an educational institution for film, for the crafts, for research. I can see it. I can see it growing. I can see, because Brother Clarence, man, man, I ain't even got to say nothing. That boy cold. He dope with it. And y'all three together, man, give folks like me and Baba Kimo hope that when we gone, we good. You know what I'm saying? That we good when we gone because y'all gonna keep it going. Y'all gonna keep it going. And so, you know, it's an honor. It really is an honor in the same sense that we say Tupac and Fred Hampton Jr. and others are Black Panther Cubs. We look at Brother Abib and say this brother here is a Rastafarian Cub. He's a descendant of the Maroons. So I want to hear from you personally. How does it feel coming from Orangeburg County, being able to connect with brother like Abib, brother like Clarence, and do this kind of work? Because people don't understand the intellectual legacy of Orangeburg, and they don't know about the community that we come from in terms of excellence in education. So I just want you to put that narrative together for us, man, before we move forward, because I think you can do it justice way more than me.
Let me try to frame it the best way I can, man. Being connected to Bill and Clarence is amazing, man. It's amazing. It's fun. It's honoring, and it's just like it's meeting them too is one of the many most monumental moments in my life, man. Because I've learned so much from them, just in listening to them, and then us engaging each other, swapping back and forth ideas, and just, man, it's great. It's great. And coming from Orangeburg, you know, making basically this is an international connection. Yeah, Bib, I know you like to say like I'm a stranger in a strange land or whatever, but nonetheless, though, man, you grew up amongst this part of the diaspora and being connected to you and learning from you, sharing things with you, and then your resources, man, is great. It's amazing. And this Roots Renaissance project, man, we got things coming. Hopefully, in the coming maybe year or two, I don't know. It's gonna be monumental. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be inclusive to everybody throughout the whole diaspora, man.
Hey, let me just get in here a minute, man. This young man reminds me a lot of myself. That's why I like Dominique, man. He reminds me a lot of myself when I was his age, and I know exactly where his people come from. Where he's out there in the country. He ain't far from me. He right up the road.
Right up the road. We ain't far.
He ain't far at all. I see him, his mother, his little siblings. I see them around town. His mom. She's giving me props while I'm giving her son props. So it's all a family thing, man.
Yes, it is. Yes,
and I know his siblings are very proud of him. I can see it in their eyes whenever I run into them.
Currently, as we speaking right now, my little, I don't know if my brother is, but my little sister's currently watching the show. Every time I'm on, she watching. So her and my mom, man, basically all my grandparents, but more specifically in terms of my sibling, my sister, she's watching, man. She watching. So
hey, that's good. I was telling Chief, and we was talking about this early, and I'll show you how the connection go, because I know we're all in the same family tree.
Yes, we are.
Whether it's by blood or by marriage, but I got some things that I'm been that I've been researching recently about the Jameson family, and I know that the three of us are connected that way.
Mm-hmm.
But one other thing I wanted to ask Abib down there, your last name, Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't happen to be connected to the spear, would you?
You know, it's funny. I get asked that question a lot. Funny enough.
That's my man. That's my man. I love Burning Spear.
Yeah.
I put it like this: the best way I can explain it is I don't know. In the Caribbean, it's always possible because the names are very specific. Even in the other Caribbean countries, you know, these names are very specific. So there's always a possibility. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't know. To be honest, it's because, and that's one of the reasons why I'm fascinated with you guys, because when y'all talk about Charleston and Orangeburg, and y'all talk about these different names and families, it was very similar to how it is in Jamaica. You know, it's not random at all. If you have a particular name or you're from a particular area, there's a story there, and everyone is a part of that.
Yeah, me and you've discussed that, man, because it's crazy.
You know what? You know what's crazy, right? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Oh yeah, me and you've discussed this plenty of times. And, you know, I'm private, so I'm not going to discuss everything we discuss on the phone. But yeah, like it's the connections to how it is, and like how you explain in the Caribbean, man. I can like, yeah, it's the same way in South Carolina, almost same exact way.
Man, I felt it. I felt it when I was in. You know, it's been about a year since I was in Jamaica, in Montego Bay, but I saw the similarities myself. When there's a strong connection between Geechee people and Jamaica. Very, very, very strong. I mean, the first man we met, as soon as I got off the plane, the brother was very cool. It was all love. When I told him that I had Mende heritage, Sierra Leone heritage, and he started telling me about his Ashanti heritage, man. I mean, man, I felt good on the bus. We was just riding down the hill, just cruising, and we just connected, man. It was a vibe. I loved it.
Yeah, basically like two country boys connected.
Exactly, and you know what? Let's talk about that connection because it is a little deeper. It is a little deeper, especially when you're talking about South Carolina, particularly. As we know, man, South Carolina was founded by Europeans from Barbados. Yeah, and so they already had the Caribbean design of plantations when they first established Charleston. So that was, and they operated in the same way as they did in the Caribbean. They just modified it to the mainlands. When you go to Virginia, Virginia was established by a company, not by people from the Caribbean, but by a company of Brits, right? And so all of the original American colonies were established by different groups of Europeans, different groups. And the ones in South Carolina in particular would have already came with a little bit of Creole in their tongue. They would already came probably having some of the diet of the Caribbean, some of the twang, some of the style. And that's why they say Gullah Geechee people sound like Bajans. That's why they say it, because then when you look at it, you realize that at that time, Barbados was the headquarters for the British Empire in the Caribbean. Before Jamaica, it was Barbados. So a lot of people who ended up in Jamaica, the first ones who the British took there, came from Barbados as well, just like those who ended up in South Carolina and later their lineage is scattered throughout and making up who we are. A second point is that a lot of the Europeans who own plantations and slaves in South Carolina also own plantations and slaves in the Caribbean. Their families, they were the same Europeans. And so that's another thing that makes us seem kind of familiar with each other when we cross paths. It's that deep ancestral vibe.
Absolutely. And another point to add on to what you're saying is, if you look at the United States of America and you look at the coast, right, and you look at all of these different ports, people forget that, you know, when you talk about the British Empire, these port cities and these islands were connected to the port cities in the mainland and South America and Central America. They were always connected. That's why Belize has a connection, and Nicaragua has a connection to Jamaica. That's why the Bahamas has a connection to Miami. That's why South Carolina has a connection to Barbados. But really and truly, we're all connected, because even in the Gulf, We talk about places like places where no one talks about, like New Orleans and Biloxi.
Yeah.
And you start talking about all these, those Gulf ports are also connected to places like Haiti and Martinique and Guadeloupe and all that. So our port cities, Kingston and Charleston, have always been connected.
Yes,
right?
they
We're British entities, so to speak, right? So those ports were going back and forth and bringing information, bringing people, families, all of it, right? That's always been going on.
Well,
Right.
as I think I showed you the map, Bill, back in the 1700s to I believe the early 1800s, you had a county in South Carolina or a district per se that was called Kingston. So
right, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so this idea that we've always been separated, to me, has always been crazy. I don't understand, and this is just me, getting passionate again. I sometimes I don't understand us in this Pan African world, how we, it's like, are we race first or are we nationalist first? Because we get so caught up in our nations that we don't realize that those nations, although important for the chessboard, really aren't who we are. Like, just because I'm Jamaican and you're from South Carolina, I look at you more as family than I look at somebody else from South Carolina, right? You get what I mean? Because our families are literally connected. It's not just because we're black. That's what people don't understand. It's like, it's not literally just because we're black. There are DaCostas in
Charleston,
St. Mary, right, in Charleston, and there's DaCostas in St. Mary. How does that happen? It's not just the name. You get what I mean? I found cousins that have no connection to Jamaica. DNA cousins have no connection to Jamaica from South Carolina. How does that happen?
Oh, you are exactly right, because I have found a Jamaican connection, and I know it's real because my a cousin of mine, a first cousin of mine, me and her just matched up with a guy from Jamaica. And the other thing is, supposedly I've heard that my great grandfather, his first wife, was from somewhere in Jamaica. So I'm thinking that this may be the connection to Jamaica that me and my cousin have been matching up with. But I think I told you about her, Chief Makiba. Ben Makiba matched up with this guy from Kingston, Jamaica. And of course, we have Clarendon County right here in South Carolina, which is not far from Orangeburg. So there's a Clarendon County in Jamaica. There's a Clarendon County here.
I would say the reason. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I want to add to that as well. We got to remember that since we're basically talking about imperialism during the era of the transatlantic slave trade, and the political and the economic forces behind how we got scattered, how a sister ended up in Jamaica and a brother ended up in Charleston, and why it's more likely for people to have a Haitian identity in Louisiana and for someone from South Carolina to be connected to Barbados. You have to understand the nature of Western imperialism and the system that we still live under, and the significance of what Brother Abib is saying as well in terms of, are we nation first or race first? Because Garvey himself said, I would never trade Africa in for Jamaica. In other words, he's seen a race and a nation as the same. He's seen us having the same sense of nationalism that we have as Jamaicans, as Africans, all around the world, as Black people. And so he developed the ideal called universal African nationalism. And I believe that for Brother Abib to look at us and see our culture and our expression of our history and our families, it resonates because he's a universal African nationalist as a Rasta. He's not seeing the borders. He's not seeing the imperialist divisions. Very, very important, because as a Maroon descendant, he would have got that easily in-house with no lessons just passed down, as rules, as regulations in the house. He just has a knee-jerk reaction to something other than that. So it's real powerful to highlight that. I want to highlight that because, we are literally the same lineages. We're divided by slavery and colonialism, and we're talking about migrations as well. In the context of migrations, you have Abib, who's a first-generation U.S. born, who has his own child now, who's U.S. born, who might have a child who's going to be U.S. born. The nationality doesn't change. He's still African. He still has his exact lineage and his exact parents and his exact heritage. So we have to know that when we say nation, what are we talking about? And when we say race, what are we talking about? So I love the question that you asked, because of course I'm race first. I don't care what your personal nationality or your lineage is. The goal of the race is to put all those to the side and see how we can empower all African Black people. So
Exactly.
yeah, man. You know, you got me passionate right there with that question. That's the question of the century.
Absolutely, because I think all of us, when you go into these individual places and spaces, like even in Jamaica, we have different factions. You people talk about Maroons, and I always remind people, which Maroons are you talking about? There's Maroons that didn't sign the treaty. You know what I'm saying? There's Maroons that didn't sign the treaty, and there's Maroons that did sign the treaty, and even the ones that did sign the treaty, which Maroons are you talking about? Right? Because it's different Maroons. So there's all kind of factions and politics, even in just Jamaica. So when we start getting into the greater world, it's the same thing. So people put us on these national lines of Jamaicans versus African Americans, but me growing up amongst African Americans, I know everybody's not part of the same tribe, right? You're African American, cool, but are you Nation of Islam? Are you, you know what I mean? Are you Hebrew Israelite?
Yeah.
Are you, which
A
faction
Moor?
do you come from? Are you a Moor? Which faction do you come from? Nation, you know what I'm saying? 5%. You know what I mean? Like I greet all of the tribes individually the same way with respect. And it's the same way in Jamaica. I agree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We have national subgroups as well. The Gullah Geechee are a national subgroup of African, quote unquote, African Americans. Some people would say we're not Americans. We're just Africans, and our heritage and culture is Gullah Geechee. Others would, include all. But like you're saying, the Africans in Louisiana developed they went through a local ethnogenesis that made them distinct. They have their own lingua franca. They have their own slang. They have their own Creole. They have their own culture, their own foods, their own history right there in that place. And like you said, they're not a nation, but they could be nationalistic about their culture. They could be, ethnic nationalists is what the quote unquote sociologists would call it, right? And like you're saying, we're very diverse. Somebody from California today is very different than somebody from Brooklyn today. If they meet up at 18, they got two different socialization processes. The culture's a little different, but at the end, they're still going to have that American experience in common that's going to help them override. So that's the only way where the Americanism comes in. Some will argue that Americanism as a legal citizenship.
Oh
man, he was spitting.
I say the powers that be ain't want to hear that.
Oh, he's still going.
I did. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I think he muted.
He on fire too, man. Oh man.
You
can't.
Yeah, he was on fire.
Yeah, man. The powers that be said, he said he talking too much, man. He telling too much right now.
Right. I mean,
but just to continue, I think that's the benefit of growing up in a city like New York. You're multicultural and you're able to deal with a lot of different people. Because even though I'm from South Carolina, my foundation was South Carolina. I consider myself growing up in the Geechee culture and everything. But when I got to New York, I knew everybody. I knew Jamaicans, I knew Black Hispanics, I knew people from all different parts of the world, really. And I love that. So because it gave me the chance to be able to resonate with different people.
Right, exactly right. And that's really what colored my experience. And color my perspective, just seeing all the different people, the different factions, different ways of thinking. I'm like, well, you're African American, right? And it's like, yeah, all right. So, but your people from West Africa, right? And it's like, nah, Israel. We Hebrew Israelite. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm over here. I'm like, you 5%, right? So it's these different ideologies and ideas. And so I learned really quickly that all of y'all African Americans, sure, but it's not. They're not. Everybody's not the same tribe. And I respected it because we was all working together. Like people don't even know that there were Hebrew Israelites in the UNIA, right? That repatriated to Ethiopia. You get what I'm saying? I want you to put that together in your brain a little bit, So we've always been together, you know, even with different ideas.
Like I say, but I got along with everybody growing up. I don't care. I didn't really care what. I've had dinner with many different families, with Hispanic families, with Jamaican families. Man, they treated me like family. That's how my building was. The building I grew up in the Bronx, we had everybody. We had West Africans, we had Jamaicans, we had Hispanics, we had people from down south. Oh man, and I got along with all of them.
Yeah, I would say, you know, a point I will make is, I think a lot of times where African Americans get tripped up trying to find the direct connection to Africa is that they skip over the Caribbean, because that's the link. If you skip a link on the chain, then you can't. How you gonna connect it?
Exactly.
So you have to follow it as it came, right? And so if you skip the Caribbean, you're skipping, and Central America and South America, if we're being frank, you're skipping out an entire piece to the puzzle, which is why most people lose out on their search, because they're trying to find that direct link, thinking that the boats came directly, and they're not understanding that we were being passed around from Brazil to Panama to Haiti, to then New Orleans, then to Houston. Some migrated and fought wars and got, you know, Trail of Tears. It was pushed to Oklahoma, then pushed to Mexico, and now they still living in Mexico. And then people escaped to Canada. So those people in Canada that escaped from the hell that was slavery, they are no longer African Americans.
Some African went to the Bahamas. Yeah.
So these people that escaped from Florida to Bahamas, who have a 20-day voice, are no longer African Americans. Like, what are we saying right now? Yeah. It just sometimes, to me, and I don't want to dismiss anybody's claims, I'm just saying sometimes we need to understand that there's a story, there's a history here, and that's within respect to people that even have beliefs of us coming from Israel. With respect to their beliefs, I don't want to knock nobody. Cool, but this also, you know, a story there too, and I don't think that we take the time out to understand that we're all family. That's
exactly. We're family in multiple ways, not only just via, you know, Africa and transatlantic slave trade, but then also those migration patterns, those forced migration patterns at that, and then the voluntary migration patterns that started after enslavement ended in the United States. For the last 7 years, I've been highlighting like the cultural and historical connections that we in the United States have to the Caribbean. And man, it's a lot. We're more connected than what we think.
Yeah, absolutely right. Within my own family, within my immediate family, right here, with my wife and my son. My wife's her mother's from Charleston, and her father's from Trinidad and Barbados. And my father-in-law has been in this country since the 1920s, and he probably considers himself. Well, I know he still considers himself from Trinidad when he was living. But he's passed on, but he was right in the middle of Harlem and everything, man, and came up through the Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance. So my family, my son is West Indian, he's Geechee, he's this, he's that. His lineage is all mixed up, man.
And even you bring up Harlem, like think about the 1920s, I think 20s into the early 40s. You got the Harlem Renaissance when you got this, like you got people from all across the diaspora working together for, you know, art, poetry, music, and, you know, things of that sort. Like that's a monumental moment too in our history that we talk about it, but we don't go into deep perspective as we should. You know what I'm saying? I think me and you done spoke about that plenty of times, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot to it, man. And I think if we look at ourselves as like you know, the brother Mansaforde was saying, if we look at ourselves as one big family, it becomes easier to understand the differences and the separation and how it happened and all of that stuff. Because even in America, even in just this place, which is the place that I grew up in, right? Even in America, there's so many different factions and beliefs and ideas, and it's like, man, the biggest enemy that sometimes it seems that in Pan Africanism, the biggest enemy we have is not white supremacy, is division. And you know, and of course I understand the division comes from white supremacy, but still that division is them. Everyone agrees on who the enemy is, but it's like we can't understand how to share resources and work together. Like, I don't care if you're a capitalist or a socialist, it doesn't matter to me, right? Like, that's not the thing that that's not, we're not fighting for that. Are we fighting for socialism, or are we fighting for African liberation? Sometimes it gets confusing. So I don't focus on those differences. I focus on the things that we're working towards. I don't care what you are, what you claim, what you believe. As long as you're fighting for Black people, I'm with you.
Exactly. We got to learn, to quote Dr. King, we got to learn to disagree without being so disagreeable, man. That's like the hardest thing. One of the hardest things for us to do right now.
Right. If you're going to have ideological differences, have it with those folks. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Why are you people talking about standing on your square? Why are you standing on your square with your own people? That's like, those are the people you're supposed to be a little bit more understanding of, so that's how I look at it.
You back, Chief?
That's one of the best ways to look at it.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm back, man. Sorry about that.
Rod in the comment section, not to jump on. He just mentioned a great book, Drums and Shadow. That's one of the main books that put me on the journey I'm on now, man. And it helps show you the cultural connections that we have to the Caribbean. The stories of a Nazi, certain rituals, certain drums, how they were modified during that time. Like, shout out to him for mentioning that book.
Yeah, hey, Brother Roz Lazarus, man, he's breaking down some real good information here where he's talking about the relationship between the crewmen, the ships, the ancient Canaanites. He's talking about ancient migrations that happened from East to West Africa that we also got to consider within our next migration across the Atlantic. And not only during slavery. We forget that Mansa Musa, the famous Mansa Musa, ascended the throne only because his uncle before him went to America on 2,000 ships. And so when he's talking about the crewmen, like he's saying, the crew were expert seafaring, and even to this day, peoples. You find them in Nigeria, Cameroon, you find them in Ghana, you find them largely based in Liberia, even here in Freetown. So these are seafaring people that could move around, and they were so valuable to the European that European needed them. They used to have a tattoo on their foreheads, and they couldn't be grabbed as slaves. Do you understand? Because they controlled the trades. They controlled the trade. But yeah, so shout out to Brother Roz Lazarus, man. We got to get you back on here too, bro. Yeah. He be breaking down at a different level. One of our Gullah brothers down there in the Savannah area. But yeah, man. What y'all was talking about? I was tapped out trying to get back on.
We were just saying the similarities between all of us, the different connections, and we know the Caribbean was the jump off point. A lot of them came to the Caribbean first before they came to South Carolina.
And even you had some who were, like 2 or even 3 generations in, born into the Caribbean, they would then, ship to the United States. So that shows if anything,
but
to me, that's just as big of a connection as
really, if you look
seasoned.
But really, if you look at it, Charleston, the port of Charleston itself received more Africans directly from the Middle Passage than any other port in the United States of America as well. Yeah. So we received from the Caribbeans, but we also received people who didn't pass through the Caribbeans. People who was broken in, they was broken in on South Carolina plantations, not on no Caribbean plantations.
Yeah, that's
in reality, that's where you get Gullah Geechee culture from. Yeah. In reality, it's the breaking in process of going to the U.S. directly from Africa and those coming from the Caribbeans mixing together on the same plantations.
Because
so one of the facts of the migration I want to point out was after the American Revolution, thousands and thousands of formerly enslaved Africans, largely from South Carolina and Georgia, and their slaveholders were taken down to South Carolina, down to Jamaica, and other places, Cuba. Some went down to Trinidad, and then you remember that after that, the British and the Americans fought again. They fought 2 wars. It wasn't just the Revolutionary War. They fought the War of 1812, and it happened again. They took a whole bunch of thousands of Africans from the States and took them right back to the same place. Yeah, just like you have them taking 800 Jamaican Maroons from Jamaica to Nova Scotia, and then taking those same people and bringing them here to Freetown, where I'm at, and them having a Maroon church here and a whole Maroon town here in Freetown, and then most of them going back to the Caribbeans.
Yeah.
Many of them still having the Sierra Leone connection till today, and the Liberian connection from Freetown. So we're talking about
Absolutely.
an international African people who have been able to remember who we are in 2024 as individuals and collectively, man. This consciousness that we're generating is what it is. Some people are out here playing with this consciousness and looking for fans and looking for funds. They're not doing this correct narrative that we need, that we're doing collectively. And this movement going to keep thriving, man. You know, shout out to Gullah House, man. I'm so glad we put this together, man. Because we have opportunities to have these discussions.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And he mentioned your style too. Yeah.
So
George
I mean,
Lilly left Savannah to Jamaica and started the Ethiopian revivalist movement that later became Rastafari.
Yeah,
George Lilly helped the British against the USA. Yes, he did.
First African Baptist church.
Do you know that George Lilly, as well as what's his name? George, what was his name? I can't think of his name, but he's one of the founders of Freetown as well. Either way, these two guys started one of the first Black Baptist congregations, independent Black Baptist congregations, and they did it on a plantation located in what today is Aiken County, but was then Orangeburg District. And they actually escaped during the Revolutionary War down to Savannah, and they started the first African Baptist church in Savannah. And that church started two more churches. One of them is the Ogeechee Church. So it was three guys: Brian, George, and Lily. George Lilly is the one who went to Jamaica and literally planted the seed for Ethiopian revivalist movement there. This is a deep connection because some people say, well, Rasta comes from Jamaica, and some will say, well, what if George Lilly never went there?
I mean, I would say that there's many roots to Rastafari.
I agree with you.
You get what I mean? I don't give it to one person. Because you also have to talk about. Go ahead.
I think they're talking more about theology. I think more in the theological sense.
Well, I was going to answer that.
Ethiopianism. You know, even don't. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to answer that. I think so. Ethiopia is something that has always been important to Africans in general, especially if you start talking about people who were practicing Islam or practicing Sufi Islam, right? Ethiopia had, when you start talking about Bilal and start talking about, Abyssinia, these are places that were very, very important to African Muslims. Ethiopia has always been important to Africans. So I don't think it's fair to put it to just one person. Just like I wouldn't just say Marcus Garvey. I wouldn't just say, South Africa is where Ethiopianism came from. I wouldn't just say, Jamaica is where Rastafari come from, because it's too many ingredients. You know what I mean? And a lot of people came and put it together. Because I would give it to George Lilly, sure, but you also got to give it to Prince Hall, right? Because you got to give it to the when you start talking about the more Masonic movements, because that was going on for a long time, especially in Jamaica, connecting people from the mainland in America and to the Caribbean, and to Central America too. And a lot of that can be traced back to Prince Hall. A lot of it can be traced back to George Lilly. A lot of it can be traced from the Kumina movement when they was bringing their beliefs from Kempa Vita straight from the Congo to Jamaica. No one ever talks about them. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot, because Catholicism and the connection with Ethiopia from the Congo was going on through the Portuguese in the 1400s. You know what I'm saying? So that connection was happening, and the first Africans brought to Jamaica came directly from Spain. Came directly from Iberia. So they were already having that connection with the Ethiopians, because people forget how connected Iberia was to Ethiopia. So it's so many ways to go about it, but I absolutely honor George Lilly. I absolutely honor all those people from the mainland in America, because I look at them as us. We're the same to me. So there's, you know what I mean? And all these different roots that I'm talking about is when I go to the Congo, I'm not giving that to Jamaica. I'm saying that came from the Congo. You get what I'm saying? That came from George Lilly in Savannah. That came from Prince Hall up there in Boston. That came from all of us. Really.
Many ingredients make the recipe.
Right. Yeah. So not to knock what he's saying at all. I'm not knocking nobody. What no one is saying. I'm saying all of us we're in this together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's us. It's us rather than them.
Yeah,
You get what I mean?
I like to actually go deeper into that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Ah, man. I feel like he's about to say something important too.
Yeah, he went on again. But hey, what is Clarence's role in your group, the Renaissance? I know you guys work together. What is he working on?
Well, Clarence is very, very connected in the hoodoo community. Clarence also has his own connections in entertainment, in the entertainment industry as well. You know, he has a lot of connections in general. Like he's a really community oriented person. I know he's been in I don't want to say what community, but I know he's been in the community for a long time. I just put it like that. He grew up in the community. So, you know, he helps a lot with in terms of, you know, because he's a blacksmith. That's pretty much what he does. He helps in terms of research and connecting with certain people from that community, especially people who are African centered from that community. He helps with making those connections and just, you know, sharing ideas. All of us really contribute, even Dominique, especially Dominique with his research. All of us contribute ideas. All of us contribute research, and all of us will be contributing once we really kind of start getting things really going in terms of production. So it's really an all hands on deck kind of a situation. Everybody has their expertise and talents, and we just bring them together any way that we can, pretty much.
We like the Avengers almost.
Yeah, we pretty much do this. We pretty much do the same thing with Dominique. We always invite him on whenever we had the show going on and everything. And yeah, like we've been saying, we like the young brother. What else you guys got going on with the three of y'all? Anything popping off soon?
Man, we just be, how can I say it, man? We just be finding some amazing lesser known information. Because when you was talking about the Iberian Peninsula and how you had Roy, I'm gonna say like he had Royals coming from what we call the Congo region and Angolan region, interacting with people in Ethiopia, diplomatic, mind you, hundreds of years before what we call diplomatic relations. How it is taking place, man, and talking about what else? Whew. How the ban of the transatlantic slave trade, that was not just solely done by just Europeans. You had Africans on those boats helping to stop slave trading. Right. Like, it's so much monumental information that we're going to be exposing and sharing to the general public.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. You know, that story is a part of all of this. I think we keep looking at ourselves as like a blank slate. Like there was a starting point. It started right here. And you know what I mean? It's like, nah, it started thousands of years ago in Africa and hundreds of years ago in diplomacy that was going on in Egypt and diplomacy that was going on in Iberia and in Constantinople, you know, Constantinople. Like we were all over the place.
Ethiopians going to China.
Right. Yeah. So that's why that's yeah. So I really want to hone in on some of those stories. And that's some of the things that we've been working on. One thing I'll add too is one of my business partners, Jonathan, he has connections with a young lady that has a Gullah Geechee festival. I don't want to butcher it or mess it up because I don't remember the name of it. But that's somebody that I definitely will be connecting with Clarence. Clarence has some connections in Trinidad for the African-based martial arts. I think they have like a festival down there as well. So that's something that's coming at the end of the year that we might, hopefully, if we get the chance to, go as a team and kind of document and talk to the community and that kind of a thing. So those are some of the things that we're trying to work on and trying to put together. But they're in the works. You know, oftentimes negotiations, getting people on the phone, you know how that go. So
I told Clarence, man, he got to get the Sierra Leone. I got him when he get here.
That's all very fascinating. I love it, man. I love it. The older I get, the more happy I am when I see these young fellas, Chief, Abib, Dominique. It gives me hope, man. It makes me feel like when I'm not here anymore, you guys will carry on and don't forget about the old man.
Yeah, man. Not at all. Not at all.
Never. Never.
Yeah, man. So I think you know, the conversation that you was having about George Liddy was real dope. I really appreciate that, man, because you know, Ross be, you know, he be doing his thing too. We do his research too. It's good to, you know, corroborate information, but I think the perspective that you gave it was very reasonable in terms of it always took a collective. You know, we do want to signal out individuals, but even a lot of the credit we give one Marcus Mosiah Garvey was actually millions of Africans supporting the UNIACL collectively, and then those other people. So it's the people that we want to bring back to the forefront of history, and that's why I really appreciate Roots Renaissance, man. Dope answer to a very good question, to a very good, you know, discussion.
Yeah, I think people, I mean, just to kind of use some colloquial language, you know, people be trying to front on African Americans a lot, and I think that's one of the reasons why people get very defensive about their role in the liberation struggle. And I've never been a person that has ever denied African Americans their rightful place in this, you know, and I think that's the problem. Sometimes you do get Jamaicans or even Rastas that'll come out of their mouth and say some stuff about African Americans, and I'm not one of those people because I'm from Brooklyn. So, you know, off rip, you should already know what that's about. So you'll never hear me come out of my mouth and say anything negative about African Americans. I just have a more multicultural perspective, I guess you can say.
That's just like what I was saying.
You understand the culture. You understand the culture. You understand the culture, man.
It's just like what I was saying earlier, man. I got along with everybody. I didn't care what part of their diaspora people were from. Maybe that's just the way my mom was or whatever, man. But I got along with everybody. So you know, and my first love, first started getting into the culture was with the Rastas, was with Jamaicans. Like I said earlier, they was the ones who put me on to a lot of this Pan African stuff. You know, that's how it was. That's how the 70s was, man. Late 70s. I was around Farrakhan, Kwame, those guys like that. I was going to the different meetings with the All African Revolutionary Party. That might be before some of y'all time. That's way back. I found a hat. I found a picture the other day. I had a hat on my head with the All Africans Revolutionary Party symbol on it. Man, it made me feel good. I'm like, I've been doing this. Okay. I've been doing this for like 40, 50 years now. So it's, you know, it's all good.
Yeah, man. OG. Real
OG status here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I don't know if I'm coming across clearly or not. I think I might have like a little lag or something, but I just wanted to appreciate you, Abib, man, for taking time to come and sit down with us, you know, today again on the Gullah House Show. And you're welcome anytime. You're welcome back. And you know, Ganona is always here to collaborate as well. You know, we're always here to collaborate and explore these closer ties between, you know, the Gullah Geechee people and, you know, Jamaican people in particular, because I know that story right there is pivotal. It really highlights the relationship between African Americans and Caribbeans through the Jamaican and the, you know, the Gullah Geechee kind of bond. And so, you know, I appreciate y'all research. We're going in the right direction, man. Definitely going in the right direction.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so I mean, people can people can find me at icreateart.atl on Instagram. My name is Abib Rodney on Facebook, or Abib Jalil is what I go by. Yeah, man, you know, right now, like I said, we're working on Love Fest. That's gonna be in October. So yeah, check me out with Love. Check out Roots Renaissance. Got a lot of things coming.
It's good, man. It's always a pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Always a pleasure to talk to Dom. Yeah.
Say, man, absolutely. Much love and respect to all three of y'all, man. Like, meeting you three has really impacted me. I'm gonna say that. I ain't gonna go in too deep because I'm gonna get emotional.
So keep it going, man. Each one teach one.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
It's all good. So Abib, man, we appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you so much. And really, man, I think we're gonna just close out for the day, man. Any last word from anybody before we end the stream? You know, now is the time. But salute to everybody who watched this video, who tuned in with us. Keep doing that. Every time we come live, share it around. Like Brother Dom said, his sister, his parents watch. You know, let the family know what we got going on. A lot of times, all the support that we really need is African people, is our family.
It's always
so salute to everybody out there, man. You know, we said many roots, one fambo.
Many roots, one fambo.
Abib Rodney.
Peace.
Peace.